Warning. This program contains frank and mature discussions intended to educate and advocate on the subjects of sexuality, sex, and gender and body positivity. Due to the nature of the topics being discussed, this may include subject matter and language that some may find offensive. This program is intended for adults only. If you are under the age of 18, if such material offends you, or if it is illegal to view such material in your community, please exit now.
Brown chicken, brown cow. 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 This is fun. Brown chicken, brown cow. Brown chicken, brown cow.
Hey gang, as part of our Giving Back Month, our musical artist for December, Lincoln, he's created a few songs for you to listen to. So you can hear Lincoln in all 3 December Giving Back podcasts, and you can also see him perform during our vodcast. So sit back, enjoy, and get ready for the indescribable musical stylings of Lincoln.
Hi, I'm Lincoln Bartlett. Welcome to Music Corner with Lincoln Bartlett. In this segment, we're going to be doing some music in a corner. I'm in the corners of my mind. Jessie, what's the type of music you like?
I like pop.
You like pop music?
I do like pop, yeah.
Okay. Pop is a little difficult with an acoustic guitar.
Okay,
but,
I gotta.
I can make it work. There are like a million genres in the world, and you pick the. Okay, anyway. I say I pick dubstep. Sometimes people give me dubstep, and I'm like, what am I supposed to be like? No. Okay. I think I could do pop. Oh, but it'll be like kind of like a coffee shop pop kind of thing.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, so like, let's see, pop music. Pop music is also about sex. Here's the thing about music. All music is about picking people up. It's all music is about like convincing someone that you are worthy of sex. Yeah. So let's see. Okay, so pop songs are generally like about it will be like about a person, like about a girl or something like that. But it's like a person in your life. So like, what's like a profession that somebody would have?
Barista.
A barista? Ooh, okay. A pop song about a barista. This might not go well. I see this hot day, and I say, hey girl, can you give me a latte? I know you've never heard that before. Later on, take me out the door. Whoa. Because when I see you making that drink, you got the frothy cream, it makes me think, whoa. I wanna be with you, barista girl. You can rock my world. I'm singing, barista girl. Would you like to rock my world? I know it's a simple rhyme, but I just wanted to say, hey girl, later we could go out when you get off your shift. Maybe I can give you a little kiss. When you get off work, it's probably like 12, 'cause you started work at like 4 o'clock in the morning. Ooh, you could be with me, but you're probably a zombie. But that's okay, 'cause girl, you make caffeine, 'cause barista girl, come in and rock my world. Ooh, barista girl, come and grind my beans. Come and grind my beans. Oh, 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 oh. Grind my beans. Hey guys, barista girl. That was more Jack Johnson talking
It's good. It's
than
good.
anything else.
Good.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Brown Chicken Brown Cow podcast. I am Heather Beth. And over there is a very silly monkey.
No, I'm not.
I'm not very silly. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, you are. You're a silly monkey.
I'm normally very, very calm and collected and subdued and I glower a lot.
You know, maybe in comparison to the other monkeys, you are all those things, but
I know. No, I'm none of those things. I try not to be. But glower was on my day of the week word calendar, so I had to use it at least once today.
What was on your calendar?
The word of the week, word of the day, glower.
Oh, it was glower. I did not use glower. That. Oh, now I know.
Yeah.
This reminds me of Pee-wee's Playhouse when there'd be the word of the day, and then everybody would be like, ah!
Exactly.
I'm the only Gen X millennial cusper on the show today. Okay, bad reference.
I watched Pee-wee. I know this. Anyway, so who do we have on with us today?
Oh my God, I can't even tell you how excited I am. We are going to be interviewing Kristen DiAngelo from Sacramento SWOP, which is Sex Workers Outreach Project. She's so completely phenomenal. She's just, she blows my mind with all of the work that she does. She's so great.
You sound like you're squeeing over there, little fangirl.
I'm like fangirling. Hashtag fangirl. Okay. So a little bit about Kristen. I just, before we bring her on, I just want to tell folks a little bit about her. Kristen's super cool. She is one of the founders of the Sacramento chapter of Sex Workers Outreach Project, along with a couple other folks, Stacy Swim and some other folks. She herself has also created a documentary. I'm so excited to have her talk about that. American Courtesans, which is all about sex work, and she's just done a bunch of amazing work, actually everywhere from locally here in Sacramento all the way to internationally around advocating for sex workers. I know. So excited.
Wow. Well, let's bring her on. Let's let her share her story so that we can learn more about what she does here in Sacramento and the exposure of the information so that we can, once again, dispel myths and put the truth out there.
That's what we like to do. All right, let's see. Kristen, are you there?
I'm here. Yep.
Hi.
Hi, Kristen.
Hi, how are you doing?
Oh, hanging out there. Excuse me, my tail's underneath.
I'm doing great.
Okay, hold on. Here.
Oh, you got your tail tucked. Okay, good. That's good.
My tail's stuck.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing very well. Thank you.
Thanks so much for being willing to take the time to come on our show today. I'm really excited to hear you talk a lot about your work and share what you're doing in the community.
I'm excited to share it. Anytime I get an opportunity to educate and involve the community in what we're doing, that to me, I mean, it's a good day. I think that things change through education and advocacy, and I think that shows like yours do exactly that. They help to inform people in a positive way, so I'm really excited to be here.
Well, thank
you.
Let's get started. What is the Sex Workers Outreach Project, about?
Sacramento SWOP, the Sex Workers Outreach Project Sacramento, which is the official name, is a California state social justice network dedicated to upholding both the civil and human rights of sex workers and their communities. We focus on ending violence and stigma through education and advocacy, but we have a lot of services. So that's like the mission statement. We do a lot. We do everything from fighting to change laws to attending court dates with women who've been arrested. We have a safe house. We provide clothing and food to women who are engaged in what we call survival sex or trafficking victims. We do a lot of things. So,
okay, that makes me want to just ask some clarifying questions. So, I think that people hear these terms: sex work, sex worker. They hear survival sex, and they hear sex trafficking, and they don't necessarily know the difference. They think that anybody who is involved in sex work must be trafficked or coerced into it. They think that that survival sex is the exact same thing as sex work. Can you break those apart for us a little bit, please?
I love to break it apart because I really believe that the reason we have problems in this arena, dealing with sex work in the United States is because we're not educated about it. Nobody talks about it. And so, so when I use the term sex worker, and that term was coined by a friend of mine, Carol Lay, out of San Francisco a long time ago, that connotates freedom of will. Like, we choose to be in that industry. And unlike what most people believe, most forms of sex work are legal in the United States. So let me break that down a little bit. We consider a sex worker, or, society considers a sex worker someone who works as a cam girl, someone who works in porn, someone who's a massage therapist. And even if you work in a doctor's office, you still have to pull that adult license. It doesn't matter. It's somebody who works in the erotic dancing arena, a legal escort. So those are just a few. BDSM, a dominatrix. There are so many realms that are legal. What we do find illegal here in the United States, but it is still a form of sex work when we say that, is the actual exchange of a sexual action for money, which I find that sort of ironic because many times sex work engages that, but that isn't clearly what's being said. And when you're honest about it, that's when they find it illegal. So, or when there's a camera not rolled.
That's what I was just going to say, as long as there's no camera present, right?
Oh, yeah.
yeah, because as soon as there's a camera, it's all good, yeah.
Prostitution isn't, sure, right?
That's what sex work is. It's somebody who chooses to be in the industry. They probably can choose to do something else, but it is truly a choice. It's where they want to be, and we define it as sex work. That word work is so imperative. It is a labor industry. The only thing is because we are criminalized. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, nope, you're doing it. I was going to say, can you say more about that? And you are. The only reason it's different from other labor industries is we criminalize the workers. And because we criminalize the workers, they aren't protected by labor codes and labor standards. So all kinds of stuff could happen. Any population of people who is not protected under the eyes of the law is a target for predators because they can't report. But that's what sex work is. We're talking total volition of self. You get to work and you get to live off the profits of your, earnings, and it's a choice. Okay, so the other thing. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Oh no, I was just going to say one thing that I heard you say, which I think would be probably surprising to a lot of people, and was pretty surprising to me until somewhat recently, is that it's actually more harmful to make it a crime for folks than it is for folks to just engage in sex work. Like,
absolutely.
It's not necessarily just the sex work itself that's problematic or dangerous for folks.
It's the lack of protection under the wall, and it's anytime you take somebody who goes to work and they're penalized for earning a living, in fact, they have to risk their freedom each day, there's a reason they're going to work. We're told in society we're supposed to do that. That's what upstanding human beings do. But what if you can't get a job in another industry? What if your money runs out at the end of the month? What if, I think if you a whole host of things. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I just, what would be, so are you saying that there's some barriers for sex workers to not get a job in a different industry?
Oh, well, that happens through criminalization. So, for instance, I am dealing with right now a young woman who, I maybe should tell you about that later because she is not a consensual sex worker, and I haven't defined all of them yet. But yes, once you are in this industry, especially if you've been arrested, it's a hard fight to get anybody else to employ you. Very often people equate sex work with sexual deviance, as if we're out here doing it just because we want to do this, or it doesn't make sense. It's a job. And so because of that, if you have to say that you've been arrested for sex work in any form, it's like you're an instant pariah. So, for instance, the women who come to our safe house who have been trafficked, many times they have, long rap sheets. Seeing 10 arrests, 8 arrests, 15. I've even seen it up to 50. So arrests for either loitering with intent to commit prostitution or prostitution. once you get that, nobody's employing you. And so
loitering with intent to commit prostitution, what does that even mean? What does that look like? How does somebody know that you're loitering with that intent versus some other intent?
I know. In the state of California, and very often it doesn't wrap up into the statistics for prostitution because it's the loitering charge. But people who know what they're looking for can find it. But that's the way they say, oh, no, we're really not arresting the women. You know, they get them for loitering with intent. But on your record, it still says loitering with intent to commit prostitution. And what that looks like is there's a series of elements that if you fit 3 or more of those elements, they can cite you for loitering with intent. And they're a different, I mean, it's like they're very different in nature. So, but some of them aren't fair, but they're still part of it. So, for instance, the very first element that they can always get you for is a reliable source states you're a prostitute. Okay, so reliable source could be the policeman who's stopping you, a shop owner, someone standing in the parking lot, a passerby. Anybody has to say all they have to do who's reliable, quote unquote, that's a prostitute. So you've met one of the elements. The second element has to be that you are in an area where prostitution exists. Now, it doesn't have to be these two. It could be any 3 of the list I'm giving, but these 2 are just like automatic. So you're in an area, which means you're walking down the street, you're in a parking lot, you're somewhere where prostitution happens. And one of the things we find the most harmful in this law is that what nobody takes into consideration is that if you were, let's say, engaging in survival sex or being trafficked, chances are you live right there on the stroll or around the stroll, so you are automatically in that area just by the fact you exist.
So just the crime of living in an impoverished neighborhood or in like a specific type of neighborhood makes you already have one strike against you. Yeah.
You get it. Now,
so it sounds like a lot.
The other element.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry, that play into it are such as being seen bending down into a car, asking somebody if there's a police officer, being in possession of more than 3 condoms. So
wait a minute, being in possession of more than 3 condoms?
Yes, because
so they Wow. So people who carry condoms with them can have a strike against them just for trying to use protection?
Yes, because and if you talk to the police, they'll say we do not arrest people for carrying condoms. Condoms are not a crime, but they are used in profiling that person. But you're in possession of all these condoms. Therefore, that's evidence you were going to commit a crime. So just like they would use ski masks and like crowbars against the burglar who they caught was, in an area that they thought they did something. It's that same principle. Those condoms are a tool of the trade. And, we joke saying, and after all, if she was a good girl, she would be home with her husband not even using condoms, correct? I mean, that's the idea behind it. You're carrying condoms, so you've got to be working,
Some pretty deeply ingrained ideas about sex negativity that go into how we treat sex workers in our culture, it sounds like. Before we get too far astray, just because I'm super, super excited about it, about hearing this, could you again just, finish with the definitions around like the difference between survival sex worker, and sex trafficking? Okay, cool, thanks.
So I talked about consensual sex. Now, next thing I'm going to talk to you about is sex trafficking, human trafficking. Okay. Human trafficking has to contain some force of force, fraud, or coercion. There also has to be some sort of recruitment, and then you have to work. So there are certain elements that have to happen for you to be considered a trafficking victim. In the state of California, if you are under the age of 18, whether you have a pimp, whether you have a predator, whether you're out there on your own, it doesn't matter what the circumstances are, you are automatically considered a trafficking victim if you are working. So even if you're 17 years old, pardon me?
Because of consent.
Yeah, you can't give consent. So anybody under the age of 18 is a trafficking victim. And you do not have to be, when I say there has to be some kind of recruitment, our image of human trafficking victims or very often people brought from another country, they don't speak the language, they're held in a dingy room. What we see daily is people women, trans women and men, whose partner put them out or someone they knew put them out on the streets or talked them into working. Very often the victim has known that person even sometimes from the time they were younger. So,
well, that makes a lot of sense to me, given just the statistics around other aspects of non-consensual sexual experiences. A lot of people think it's like scary person jumping out of the bushes, but most of the time it's acquaintance rape, it's date rape, it's coercion, it's what am I trying to say? Molestation from within the family. So yeah, a lot of times we think it's like some big scary quote unquote other person, but much of the time it sounds like it's somebody that you're already acquainted with that's gaining your trust.
Absolutely. And people don't have that image, which is very often why it's not spotted, because people don't think that that's a trafficking victim. And that includes the person being trafficked. Many of the women we get at our safe house identify that their boyfriend has become a problem and they don't want to do what they have to do anymore. They don't even say, so are you being trafficked? They look at you like you have three heads. They don't even know what that means.
Right.
So the idea of trafficking is more of a legal construct. Really what it is exploitation of sexual labor. That's an easy way to put it. Is that person making you work, and are they keeping your money? Tell me what's going on. So that's what human trafficking really is. And to tell you the truth, those cases are very hard to make, and many times it's because of the way we've constructed the laws. But there are people out there that are trafficked. We get the girls here at our house. We see it all the time. However,
wow. Okay. Oh, gosh, I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but this is so much. Like, I'm loving everything that you're telling us right now. But we do have to actually take a commercial break from our sponsors so that we can continue to have awesome guests like you on. So let's take a break real quick, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about the maybe some policy changes you'd like to see in California and around the world. Sound good?
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, be right back with Brown Chicken, Brown Cow podcast with Kristen DiAngelo from SWOP Sacramento.
Hi, guys. This is Sean Monkey McAnee, Monkey for short. You know what? If you're in town here in Sacramento, or if you're anywhere, you need to check out Midtown Moxies. They are a Sacramento burlesque troupe that is blowing my doors off. They are amazing. Generally, they have 2 shows a month. One called the Midtown Moxies and one called Moxie Crush. You need to go to midtownmoxies.com or find them on Facebook. They are amazing. They're beautiful. They're funny as hell. Trust me, I wouldn't be advertising with them if I didn't believe in them. They are freaking fantastic. Enough said. Go to midtownmoxies.com. Welcome back to the Brown Chicken, Brown Cow show. We have just a fantastic opportunity today. We're talking to the creator of Sex Workers Outreach Project, I'm sorry, as I stumble over my own words. And we're really just traveling down the path of some of the ins and outs of the laws that we're having to stumble around and work our way through. But what we also want to talk about today is some of this is a giving back organization. This is helping so many people. I want to learn more about the paths to helping not only the women and sex workers in the community, but also this organization itself, how people can also reach out to you and make that happen. Okay.
Okay. So,
yeah, so
is there a question? Go ahead.
Was there a question in that monkey?
Of course
I don't
not.
know. I do that too. I get so excited. I just talk. Tell us a little bit about in Sacramento specifically, perhaps, and then just nationwide, what SWOP is, and then how people can kind of get involved and help out with the work that you're doing.
Okay. SWOP is a nationwide organization. We're here in Sacramento. This is our branch here, and we have many things that are going on. For instance, coming up in December is December 17th, and it is the International Day to End Violence Against Sex Workers. And every year we get together and we have a big dinner, and get a lot of the women who are in our organization together and the public. It's an educational moment where we can actually talk a little bit to the public about what we've gone through and what our lives are like and what we'd like to see happen. After that, we do like a march with candles, and we come back to the room, and that it's a day to honor the women who have been killed that year. And so we have pictures of the women in the room, and we have candles, and we go around the room and read their names and talk about, their lives so they aren't forgotten. And that's a very big event. It's a big fundraiser. We try to bring in money because our goal is, each year to have less women from our area to end up on that list. Less women. We want to give them services. We want to help them help themselves in whatever way they want to do, and especially if they're engaged in survival sex or are victims of human trafficking. Those of us who are consensual sex workers, our lives are different. We have choice and we have privilege, but we try to help our own. And so that
when is that event going to be happening? Oh, sorry. When is that event going to be happening?
It's December 17th. The location will be posted on our website within the next week. We have had a couple places we've done it, and we haven't decided which one we're doing it at yet. But it'll be at SacramentoSWOP.com. So Sacramento and then SWOP, SWOP.com. And you'll be able to get all the information about that. The other thing people can do is we will have an Indiegogo fundraiser. We do it every year at this time. Because on that night, we bring in as much money as we can, and we do this event called Bundles Today for a Better Tomorrow. And what we do is we put together purses with what we call, hygiene supplies and humanitarian aid. So they have everything in those purses from socks and underwear and new toothbrushes and shampoo and mittens and hats and scarves. And we also give them many times coats and full blankets for the women who are living homeless on the streets and are working, engaged in survival sex. So that's the day that we raise the money for all those supplies that we give to the women through the winter. So we would very, very much like I can't get the words out, any donations or any help there. And it'll be an Indiegogo campaign, and it'll be linked to our website at SacramentoSWOP.com.
Love it. Thank you so much, Kristen. You guys just do such incredible work over there. I really appreciate it. Can you talk a little bit about how maybe some of how do I phrase this in a positive way? Why is Sex Workers Outreach Project a little bit different maybe from some other types of work that are being done in the community around sex work?
I think the difference is we don't differentiate between whether somebody's engaged in survival as a consensual sex worker or as a trafficking victim. We provide services for all sex workers. We also do a great deal of advocacy around changing the law and changing what happens in our lives. Our organization is made up of, we do have support from outside of the sex worker realm, but many of us, like the people actually running the organization, are one of the three categories, and many times all three, because through our lives we've morphed into different areas. But so we're sort of a peer-led organization. We do things such as, like, as a group, like when we have one of our women who is out on the streets or even on an internet thing gets arrested, like we go and stand by them so they don't have to go to court alone. Right. And if they're a trafficking victim, we fight for them not to be prosecuted. And that sounds like crazy. I mean, most people go, what do you mean you fight? We have to fight, because what people don't realize is whether you're trafficked or not, you're engaging in prostitution, so you're still committing a criminal act. So we see that all the time. So we're sort of like, we're run by people who understand, who've been there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I like that you said it was like a peer-led organization. That makes a lot of sense to me. So people who have been through the experience and understand it and know what some of the challenges are and can help give back in a realistic way, right? Right.
And I think that it's hard for the outside world sometimes to understand us, because historically we are told not to talk. Like, we don't talk about what our lives are. We're not open and out. People don't know that we exist or that we're right next to them very often. So it's sort of like when people want to help us, sometimes they fall into that media trap of rescue, like the savior type thing, versus understanding that we're humans, and many times our human and civil rights have been violated, not just once, but many times, and that it's really nice to have a voice, and people just, if we want help, many times it comes in the form of we want help of people just giving us like a little help with resources so we can do it ourselves. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean,
that
tends
more
to be
empowering
what
that
we
way.
do. Yeah.
So, okay, so walk me through, like, the process if you, so I know that you said that you have, like, a safe house where you can help folks get off the streets if that's what they're ready to do, where you can help give folks some resources. So walk me through that. Like, if I'm a sex worker and I'm like, this really is it, whether or not it's fitting for my life, I need some more resources. I'm going to come to SWOP and see what I can do. What does that look like a little bit? I know you said that you go to court with folks, but what else might that look like to provide? So
we have a hotline phone number, and when we get a call, we talk to the person and we sort of find out what it is they need. People many times need different things. It's not like it's a one-size-fits-all because sex work is such a broad industry. So we find out. But let's say we get a call from somebody who's, those are the calls usually we get at 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning. They're really in trouble. They have nowhere to go. Someone's looking for them, and they're done. They can't do it anymore. They've called every shelter they can. Nobody will take them, and they're hysterical. So let's say we get somebody like that. Many times what we do is 2 of us, we never go alone. We'll find a neutral place and ask that person if they can get there. An all-night, like, fast food restaurant or something like that. And we begin by, like, talking to them and seeing if they are somebody we believe we can help. And there's a lot that goes into that. I mean, you have to make sure that they're safe to bring into the house with all the girls there and that, there's somebody that you really believe is would be a good fit. So let's say that this person really needs help. We have some community partners. We work with TLCS. Sometimes they are amazing, and they are a mental health respite place. And so they will take our people if they have a bed for 23 hours, while we sort of then put stuff in motion. So we have to decide, is this a good place? Or let's say we decide that their predator or the person who they're running from is, maybe too much of an imminent threat here. Then what I do is I have friends in Orange County. We'll call them and see if they have beds in Orange County. We begin to find if there's a place they have a bed. But if it looks like they're a good fit here, then we begin this whole thing. Like, people just think that, you come in and it's over. But most of the time we're dealing with, they don't have IDs. They haven't seen a doctor in years. They have severe dental problems. Many of them suffer from mental illness of some sort. They aren't on their medication. A lot of them suffer from SUD, substance use disorder, and that's a big tool of traffickers to keep them, loaded because then nobody listens to them. They're just a drug addict.
They're kind of outside of the normative, like, systems that we think of as being part of, like, quote, regular society. Like, they don't have, like you said, like an ID. They don't have, like, a medical record, these type of things. So they're outside of these systems that are in place to actually supposedly help people. If they're not even able to be part of those systems, then they're kind of invisible, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. So it becomes this process of really intensive triage, which is why I say, we have a very small capacity. We don't take many women. When we take them one at a time. We'll take trans women and we'll take cisgender female, but we don't have a place really to put male sex workers. So I'm not excluding them for being in this position. I'm just saying that our facility, we have limited resources. So, yeah, it becomes a very, very intensive type of thing that needs to happen. Most of the people we get here have PTSD, which includes night terrors and being scared of everybody. They're not good in social situations, and they're definitely not good in group settings because they're so scared. So there are all these issues that happen. With that said, we have been so lucky with our success. Like sometimes I want to cry when I see how well these women are doing. We have one woman who is now working for the Postal Service and is raising her 2 kids and is like, it is amazing. And she came off the streets with 8 arrests, and we have, her life is different. I can't even tell you. And, I was talking to you about the criminalization and how that plays in. So she worked in healthcare before this guy got her. And after, she got away, she couldn't get a job anywhere. We had to put her out at a recycling plant to work with felons because that was the best job she could get for her first job.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Was that because
back,
of like a arrest record and things like that?
Yeah, nobody else would hire her. So, but we're very grateful for that job and for that organization because they've hired a lot of our women. I wish more people would. So when you talked to me earlier about things that need to change, that's one of the things that need to change. Like businesses should be applauded for hiring women who are, trying to transition out of the sex trade or have been human trafficking victims. They should be applauded for doing that. But so many people are scared to align with us,
Right. Well, and I think that's, another piece of sex negativity and stigma and judgment in our culture. But we're going to have to take another break really quick and come back with you and hear more of your thoughts and recommendations about making the world a better place for sex workers. So we'll take a quick break.
Great.
Hello, this is David Loretta Mola with the BCBC podcast. Now, I know you're sitting there thinking, what could David possibly tell me about condoms that I don't already know? Here's a fact. Do you get a condom that delivers to you monthly? I don't think you do. But if you order Lucky Blow condoms, they're great. They'll get you through whatever you need to do. And when you're done, no worries. There's no babies coming out of nothing. That's a fact. You can quote me on that. David Loretta Mola says, buy Lucky Blow condoms. You'll never regret it.
Welcome back to Brown Chicken, Brown Cow. I am Monkey. Over there is Miss Heather Beth. And we're just having, this is such a mind-blowing episode that there are people, wonderful, caring people out there taking care of and considering individuals who are in the sex work community. This is just fantastic, Heather.
I know. It's so cool. I just get so excited about the work that SWOP does. I'm
getting all choked up over here, but that's just me.
I know I think it's really cool and inspiring, but I also think that it's really important to just humanize sex workers, right? Like look at sex workers like people doing jobs just like the rest of us, right? And when it is consensual, right? It's not always, but
right.
But yeah, so Kristen, you're just doing some great stuff. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing in our community. Can you share a few of your thoughts about? I know that you all did a needs assessment in Sacramento, in the Sacramento Valley area around sex workers. Can you talk a little bit about what drove you to want to do a needs assessment and what that is for folks who aren't typically doing research of that nature, and then some of the outcomes of that?
Absolutely. I believe it was 2015. It was the end of 2015, and we decided to do this needs assessment. Now, the reason we decided to do it was not because we knew what we were going to find or, I had some ideas, but because of the opposite, we didn't. What had happened was in the summer, I think it was 14 or 15, so it depends when we did the needs assessment. I think it was 15. There was a site in California called the SF Red Book. So SF Red Book was a posting venue for sex workers. Yes. And every day, up to and sometimes more than 10,000 sex workers in the state of California posted ads for a job to go and went to work. So 10,000 sex workers daily would post on that site. Well, on the summer of 2015, what happened was the feds took that site down. So if you went on to log on, instead of seeing the site and being able to put your ad, you saw this notice saying the FBI had confiscated the site. and media and, political outlets applauded the removement of the site. I mean, they all thought, oh, it's great. This is a venue that people are trafficked on, thinking that an advertising venue causes trafficking. It's sort of like, well, that sort of removes the blame from the predators. Okay.
Right.
Strange take from us who've been trafficked, but okay, if you want to go there. But what this was reminiscent for me was what happened in the late 70s and early 80s when they reprised something called the Red Light Abatement Act in the state of California. And what the Red Light Abatement Act is and what we've done historically, because this is just a repeat of what we've done over and over, is in 1913, the governor at that time passed this thing called the Red Light Abatement Act that banned bawdy houses or brothels. Up to that point, prostitution in the state of California was totally legal, absolutely legal. So when he posted when he enacted this law, what happened was by 1914, not 2003, it was 1914, all the houses are closed except for San Francisco, and by 1915, San Francisco followed suit. So that's how we abated, quote-unquote, prostitution in the state of California. Well, we didn't abate it. What people don't realize is the days those brothels closed, all the women gathered up their stuff and packed their bags, and they walked out in the street in front of their house where they lived. It was their family. This was their home as well as their work. And when they walked in the street out front of their house, people who had been clients would drive by and see them and would pick them up and give them money. What we did is we effectively created street walking in the state of California. That's how that began. So we didn't abate prostitution, we migrated it. We caused a migration. Yes, from indoor prostitution for outdoors. Time goes by.
I'm guessing that really must have changed the shape of the experience for the workers themselves and probably for the customers as well.
Absolutely. All of a sudden, you didn't have support. You didn't have people around you. Predators could practice on us because they could pick us up without anybody knowing where we were. So that's what occurred. It happened again in the 80s when women had come back in and we were working in massage parlors and they began closing all the massage parlors. They dumped us out on the streets. So fast forward to today. What had happened is they pulled down that website. Once again, what happens to the workers? So based on that, we decided to do a needs analysis. We decided to go out on the streets and find out, how long have you worked here? What's your life experience has been? What do you need? What do you need to make your life better? And
so asking the people themselves what they need, what a concept, instead of having other people make decisions for them. What the heck?
I know. Crazy idea, huh?
Geez.
So what we did find is we found that we have a huge problem here in Sacramento and throughout the state of California because many of the workers migrated from city to city because there was no stability. We also found an 18% uptick in street prostitution in Sacramento alone based on the closing of the website. So once again, we migrated women from indoor prostitution to outdoor prostitution, and I am including trans women in that. I'm just saying women, as an overall catchphrase. But yeah,
and probably I'm guessing, even though you that y'all surveyed women mostly, I'm guessing this is true for also for our queer youth who are oftentimes out doing survival sex, and also for men who are involved in the sex trade as well, and genderqueer folks. I'm guessing this is. Of course, we don't have the numbers if you were mostly surveying women, but I would guess that would probably affect other sex workers as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. In fact, I believe there was a huge migration of the trans because we had a lot of trans workers on there. As far as children, I don't know how many children were on there because you never would know because they have to say they aren't children if they are. But even with saying that, let's say somebody's being trafficked. The idea is we take down the site, and to me, really, is there no logic in this? How do they even come out with it? So there's this idea, you take down a site, and what do they think their pimps are going? It's like, oh, my God, they took down to the site, foiled again, you're free, my child, go. Really? Is that how it looks? I mean, because that isn't what happens. What happens is that pimp says to the person, you're going to make the money and I don't care how. Probably going to be on a street corner tonight. So the idea that we attack media, makes a sex worker's life better, or trafficking victims' life better is erroneous. In fact, the exact opposite happens. You are more disenfranchised. You're pushed darker into the corners. You're dealing with a rougher trade. You now have to make split-second decisions. And many of times those decisions are going to be wrong because there has to be a first day that you hit that street. And lots of times it's when they attack the other venues in desperation. And when you're desperate. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Just to track from earlier from what you were saying. So you're saying that even though a lot of times people think, that like, okay, well, if we make sex work criminal, then we're gonna stop it from happening. If we shut down the ability for people to connect with clients, then we're actually helping the sex workers. But what I'm hearing is that criminalizing and closing off these resources for sex workers doesn't actually make sex work not happen. It just makes it less safe, and it makes it more dangerous for the sex workers themselves, especially the people who are more marginalized already, like trans folks or young people or people living in poverty.
Absolutely. It makes the people who passed the law and took down the site feel better because they no longer have to look at it.
Right.
They feel like they've done something because they no longer see it, because what I always say is it's no longer on their street. The internet was their street, but once you take it off there, they can get on the internet and don't see you, so you're gone.
Sounds like NIMBY, the not in my backyard kind of problem, right? Just like push them off somewhere else.
Yeah.
How we deal with homelessness, how we deal with all kinds of problems in our culture. Wow. Okay. So this is so super fascinating. I want to make sure that we connect this directly back to for our listeners, what they can do to connect and help out. Like I know y'all are doing a clothing drive. People can donate. How can people help directly, either if they're here in Sacramento or if they're not in Sacramento? How can people get involved and support the work of Sex Workers Outreach Project? And what exactly do you need, and how can people make that happen for you?
Okay. So there are all kinds of things. Donations, whether cash or in-kind, anything, donations of condoms. We go through massive amounts of condoms here, and lube. Those are needed. Hygiene products are needed. Anything that, would be needed for somebody who basically is in the arena of being homeless. We also could use, if anybody's out there as an attorney and they want to take on some pro bono cases, we see things that should never happen. We have, like I said, a woman right now. She's fighting a case in Stockton, and she fits the definition of trafficking. CAS, which is the Coalition Against Sex Trafficking, I guess, is CAST out of LA, which is one of the bigger, more reputable organizations that has attorneys that evaluate and write letters for the courts, has written her this amazing letter. We've engaged with the FBI. We've done all these kind of things. And none of her choices are good. Like this man's threatened her kids, and they're saying, okay, we'll make it go away for you, but we want his name. However, one of the...
I'm so
go ahead.
Sorry. No, go ahead.
So long story short is she is going to end up with a record no matter what she does, and her life is being threatened, and there's no protection. So things really need to change in that area. It really needs to change, So
our listeners, the way that they can support, one of the ways is donating hygiene products or like condoms and lube. Another thing is if we've got some attorneys out there who are looking to provide, to provide some pro bono services to
for human trafficking cases, or specifically human trafficking cases. That would be really important. Social workers, therapists. We're in huge need of therapists. We're very grateful that we deal with the Gender Health Center, and they've been really wonderful. But we have people in all different areas. Pardon me?
Oh, I just said I know who the Gender Health Center is. They're also a locally based nonprofit here in Sacramento. I love them.
Yes, they are amazing. Speaking of that, we have a drop-in center for trans workers. on the second Wednesday of every month at the Gender Health Center in the evening.
Okay. Drop-in centers that can kind of just assess their needs and provide resources.
Yep. We have vouchers for clothing that we can give them, and they can go shopping. We provide a meal, and we do different classes there, too. So, yes.
Wow, that sounds great. Okay, so it's sounding like we need to go to another break so that our sponsors, some of whom do or have historically provided condoms, can help us stay in business and do our work. So let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Kristin DiAngelo from SWOP Sacramento.
Hi guys, this is Sean Monkey McEnany, Monkey for short. What you need to know now is that brown chicken, brown cow needs your love. It needs your help, and personally, we could use your money. But short of that, what you need to do is go out and like our Facebook page. Number 2, give us a review on whatever podcast ability you have. Go out to iTunes, go out to Google Play, give us a good review because that helps. Number 3, subscribe. Subscribe to our podcast because that helps our numbers, helps us with advertisers, helps us with everything. It makes us look good, actually. And number 4, and this is very important, come close to the speaker. It's fantastic. You can go out to Patreon and support us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/BCBC podcast. You can support us at whatever level of support you think you can manage. I don't want you to give us money if you can't do it, but I want you to give us some money, and we'll give you back some love as well. We'll give you back some stuff. We'll talk about you on the radio. Who knows? But in the end, supporting us helps keep the show going. Subscribing to the podcast gives us better numbers. And liking our Facebook page, guess what? You'll always know when the show's coming. So, this is Monkey. You're you. We are together. Cuckoo, cuckoo. Fantastic. See you on the next show. Brown chicken, brown cow.
Welcome back to Brown Chicken, Brown Cow. I'm just really knocked over. This just sounds an amazing organization, amazing things that you're doing. Heather Beth, where are we moving next with this conversation?
Oh my gosh! Well, I think we were talking a little bit about direct services that are helpful for sex workers and what people can do to donate. Kristin, do you also take cash donations? We're sort of talking about charitable donations.
Yes, we take cash donations, and on our website, people can sign up to make a one-time contribution or monthly contribution. And even if you just do a little bit, it helps. It all helps. The people who run the organization, none of us get paid. We do this because we believe in it. The only people in our organization who get paid are the women who come through our program and are in our Back to Work program. And what that means is once they start healing and doing well, we we encourage them to work with us and earn money, and we pay them so that they get some, references. They've had a job. They've done things besides just being on the street or being, a sex worker in some context. So we do have sex workers who get paid, but they're people who come into our organization for our services, and it's part of what we call our transitional program so that they get job skills and can go back into the world.
Wow.
Wow,
that is so
money
cool.
would help.
Okay.
Always.
So, sorry. So what I was going to say is, it sounds like what you're saying to us is just like anybody else. Sex workers are rich, complex, individual people with histories and stories that might go different directions throughout their lives, and they're not just victims of crimes, and they're not just criminals, huh?
No. One of the things I always say is sex workers are representative of their communities. Mm-hmm. We are as diverse as the community is, both socioeconomically, race-wise, gender. We are representative of our communities. So. Well,
yeah, and along with that, I know that you have a documentary that you've made, right? That kind of tells the stories about some of these folks.
Absolutely, American Courtesans. It's still on iTunes, or you can go to our website at AmericanCourtesans.com. And yes, it was
like the fancy word for sex worker back in the day, huh?
Yes. Well, we used that because we did this a few years ago, and because there is so much stigma and stereotyping attached to many of the words used to describe a sex worker. And the outside world doesn't really know what the word sex worker means. But we decided that courtesan was a respectful term that was used for women and partners who did more than just, what society thinks we do, because many of us are sex caregivers, which means we do a lot more than what society thinks happens.
Sex caregivers. Tell me about that. I love that term.
Well, we have this idea in society that you're supposed to grow up, get married, have kids, have sex with that one partner forever, and everything's supposed to be wonderful. And unfortunately, that's not how the majority of people's lives turn out. Nobody talks to people about the realistic odds of that being your life and your path, because it's not really great. And so what happens in the arena of sex and relationships, many people get harmed and scarred through time. Traditional relationships don't work, and that can happen in all different forms. That could happen because of abuse. That could happen because of heartache. That could happen because they're a veteran and things have occurred. That could happen because of other forms of PTSD. There are all kinds of reasons that traditional relationships don't work for them. So people come to us many times because needs in their life aren't being met. And sometimes they're sexual, and sometimes people wouldn't consider them sexual, but to that person they are. They're very intimate and close. So a lot of us are nurturers. There's a huge need for us in society, whether it's because so I tell this story all the time. People always think like, ooh, what was your most important client? Thinking it's somebody who's wealthy or somebody who, like have you seen famous people? And I tell people very clearly, I remember my most important client. It was in Minneapolis, and he came to see me, and he drove hours to come to see me. And 6 months prior, he had just had a heart replacement, and things were going good for a while, and his heart started going down. And he had a few things that he wanted to do left in his life, and one of them was is he didn't want to die without having someone hold him and tell him that it was going to be okay. And he drove hours for that intimacy. And I always say to this day, he was one of my most important clients ever because that meant so much to him. So that's why I said that our world is not what people think many times. You can't imagine what other people's experiences are unless you've walked in their footsteps. And
Wait a minute. Are you telling us that we just need to have empathy for people because they're people? That's just too much.
I know. How crazy is that, huh?
And look at people like they're complex individuals and not just a stereotype. What a concept.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
So that's why I say we're sexual caregivers. We give care to people.
That resonates with me a lot. I mean, I'm a social worker, and I feel like, it sounds like our work is a lot closer than people might think. Like, using these skills of empathy, providing resources, meeting people where they're at, really just connecting with who they are as a whole person instead of like a cardboard cutout of them. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing your work. Let's see. I know I kind of keep harping on this, but I think hopefully it's a good thing. So so the ways that people can give back, they can donate through your website. They can provide hygiene products or safer sex supplies. They can, but what about, and then they can volunteer if they are, you said, attorneys wanting to provide pro bono services or therapists. I'm not exactly sure how that would happen. Maybe you can do referrals.
Counselors.
But also, what about just people who want to volunteer their time that don't have like a lot of money and may not have necessarily like highly specialized professional skills? Are there other volunteer opportunities in Sacramento or even nationwide with SWOP?
Absolutely. We have so many things going on. So we have one organization I think they're out of Florida, called SWOP Behind Bars, and where they hook you up, where you write women who are incarcerated who were engaged in sex work, so that they have so that they have ties to the outside world when they get out. So that's a nationwide thing. We have SWOP USA always has stuff going, and you can get to that. So if you're not in this area, and you want money to go to your area, there might be a SWOP branch in your area, or SWOP USA just sort of covers all the other places. We cover Northern California pretty much because, well, we're the active chapter here in Northern California.
Okay.
So we deal with people all the way from San Francisco up to the Oregon border is sort of our territory.
Awesome.
Anything you have, like I think about when we get the women in here, they need so many things. Even if you could just provide ride or a mentoring program, you know, for some of the women, so they have a friend and someone out there who can, you know, just, I don't even know how to explain it. Many of our women aren't used to being with people what we call in the real world. We're so isolated and so segregated that it's nice for them to learn how to be around other people. So we sort of do mentoring. Like we find people and say, oh, why don't you go out to lunch with this person? Or why don't you guys go to the show? Or different things like that. So that is a huge thing. And it doesn't seem like that would be a lot, but it is. You know, it is the people who don't have anyone. So.
Gotcha. Wow, this is so cool. I feel like I could talk to you for like 5 hours and still not even learn everything, but
right.
This is great. Monkey, other thoughts? What do you think?
Yeah, like I think I've said what I feel. You know, I've let you kind of drive this, but I do feel like this is a major thing that needs to be talked about, a major movement that we want to have changes in, because not only is it decriminalizing, but it's the idea of dehumanizing, which is the part of the worst part. Those two things together come together to really just shake me, that I want to go, hey, people, you need to have empathy. What can we do to help? And I feel like in a certain way, a lot of people don't want to step up and make those moves. So thank you, Kristen.
Oh, well, you're welcome. I always tell people I do this because I can't not do it. Like it's a part of me. Something happens, you know, when you've done okay in this world and you see what's happened to your friends and family in this life, right. It just becomes a part of you. You have to do it. I can't explain it, but you have to. So
I love it. Okay, so once again, upcoming events this month it's going to be the December 17th, Day to End Violence Against Sex Workers. Information about that on your website. Sacramento, you said it's SacramentoSWOP.com. It's, Sacramento, SWOP.com. Okay. And then you have the bundles for Better Life, which is people can donate supplies, clothes, hygiene products, etc., purses. Anything else that we should know about where to find you in the world or what's coming up next?
The only other thing I am doing and coming up is that I'm actually on a panel in Hawaii for the Harm Reduction Coalition. They have some new bills coming up, and so I'll be doing that in January, but that's not in California. That's in Hawaii. It's in Honolulu. So I don't know. Most of our stuff we're now doing just daily. Like we're do outreach to the streets and providing hygiene supplies and condoms and resources for the women, and you know, our drop-in center. So, but I thank you guys so
you're doing
much
the work
for doing this.
That's so cool. So you're doing the work like from everything from directly just handing a condom to a sex worker or a bottle of shampoo or like a brochure, all the way up to policy changes. Thanks so much for being on today.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for what you're doing. I mean, it will help so much. We really appreciate this.
Yeah.
Well, this is Sean Monkey McEnany and the wonderful Heather. Come on, Heather Beth. You know, come on. Nothing?
Yeah, Heather Beth.
Heather
you can call me whatever you want, as long as you don't call me late to dinner, says Grandma.
Okay, Diane. All right, so.
All right, Jackie. I don't know.
Call me Jackie. It's fine.
I will. That'd be great.
Let's go ahead and wrap up this episode, and thank you very much. If you get a chance, please go out to our patreon.com/BCBC podcast. Find us on Facebook.com. Give us a like on that page because, you know, hey, why not? You're on Facebook anyway, probably. Also,
find us on YouTube as well. We've got all of our audio podcasts, our video podcasts up on YouTube. We've got a Patreon page for I'm sorry.
Stuff.
I'm sorry. The madam is just telling us that our nickname is Monkey Beth.
Monkey Beth. Thank you, madam.
Monkey Beth. I love it. Anyway, check us out on Patreon. Tip us if you like the work that we're doing. If you think that what we're doing is fun, inspirational, entertaining, life-changing, educational, any of those things. Tip us and get you some sexy brown chicken brown cow swag, some buttons, some stickers, all kinds of fun stuff. Become a Patreon supporter, and support SWOP as well. They're rocking it.
Yep. So this has been Monkey.
This has been Heather Beth.
And we are out. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
For information on becoming a sponsor, advertising with us, or becoming a guest on our show, visit us at brownchickenbrowncowshow.com. All information in this show is copyright 2018 by the Brown Chicken Brown Cow Show and Podcast and Mariu Creative Solutions. All rights are reserved.
Brown chicken, brown cow. 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 This is fun. Brown chicken, brown cow. Brown chicken, brown cow.